Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Catfish Weekly, episode 29. Tonight we're going to be talking about night versus day fishing, and thankfully we have all the technical difficulties figured out. Lyle's got his internet back, so we have Lyle Stokes with us tonight. We have Chuck Davidson with us tonight. Chuck can't actually hear me tonight, so he'll be helping out this time. And then myself, Chris Wallace, aka Fudd. Um, So, getting started into night versus day fishing, we're going to talk about feeding patterns, techniques, things that help night versus day fishing. So, I'll go ahead and start it off with Lyle if you want to kick it off.
Sure. One of the things that you'll notice is in the tournament circles, most of the tournaments are during the day. Several reasons for that. One is because of safety factors, uh, daylight hours versus night hours. Another reason is a lot of the blues and channel cat tournaments. It doesn't really matter if it's in the day or night because they'll bite any time of the day or the night. Now flatheads, another situation. Not that you can't catch them during the day, but it's a lot easier to catch them, or it seems like it's easier for me to catch them at night. Um, People are more comfortable during the daylight hours, so there's always going to be more people on the water. Personally, I prefer fishing at night simply because it's not so hot. You're not out in the blaring sun and all that stuff, but everybody has their own deal. Um, I don't like doing tournaments at night, running them. I like fishing them at night. I don't like running our tournaments at night because of the safety factor. And the fact is that you get a lot of people coming into these tournaments that are not familiar with the area, and they're coming in blind, not knowing what's out there or where it's at or anything about it. And one of the biggest issues that we have is the St. Louis area, which is, unless you've been down there and seen the amount of boat barge traffic that's in that area, people that think they have barge traffic on most rivers have no clue what barge traffic is really like unless they've been in St. Louis. And I'm sure that there's other places that have more barge traffic, but for the size the river is there compared to what the size the river is south of there, there's no comparison. And them tugboat operators, for the most part, they have very little, if any, respect for anybody other than themselves. So safety is the reason why that I don't like doing them at night, but I do prefer to fish them. Um, I don't know how you guys feel about that, but on lakes and stuff, you don't have that issue. But again, I'm not a lake type fisherman for the most part.
Yeah, myself for fishing tournaments, like you're saying, honestly, it doesn't. I do like for the heat factor. I do like fishing at night. Um, but for the visibility factor, I like the day. And for whatever reason, fishing at night, you need a few more things like a glow sticks or things like that for drift fishing. And if you're not drift fishing, you're clicker fishing, which most of the time I relate to in anchored up. Being anchored up, I throw my clickers on, and I don't really, I might have one pole that's sitting there, just hanging off the side, not quite to the bottom or whatever. But yeah, that's for nighttime. Most of the time, it seems like lately here I've been anchoring up, and I really need to start drifting more. Um, but I got to figure out a better system with drifting at night, with being able to see my poles. Being locked down and stuff. And
Well, and that's what we was talking earlier this afternoon. The light setup that I have on my boat, you can video off these lights. You can drift on them. You can tie. You can sit underneath them where they're not even shining on you, and you can tie your rigs up if you get broke off. It's amazing setup, and I'll get some pictures this week and try to have that to where we can share it next week on the show because it's nothing spectacular, really fancy. I didn't make them. I bought them from Bill Parfit, but they work extremely well, and you can see. We go to tournaments. and I'll pull my boat up and park it across the drive to where we're doing the entries, and I'll turn one of them on and point it towards the table. And unless somebody gets in between the light and the table, it's just like daytime. They're LED lights, and they're amazing. And you don't have to put them all over your boat like these guys are doing with the blue and the red ones, and putting them things all over the inside and all over the outside. These are two lights on a pole that are adjustable, extendable, and there's nothing like what you'll see in them blue and red ones that'll light you up near what I got will do. Anytime you can video off of some lights in your boat, you've got the light you need.
Yeah, I've actually had in my boat. It's I believe it's called 27-watt LED. It might be 9 LEDs or 15 LEDs, or it could be 27 LEDs. I'm not sure, but it's almost a spotlight. Doesn't use a lot of power. But the only problem I have with it is that it's kind of too bright, and it also attracts a lot of bugs, and you got to deal with that. And some people. I mean, when we get into with what you're talking about, there's some people, and I don't think it bothers me either way. But there's some people that just feel like they have to completely black out their boat at night. I mean, they don't even want their little tiny, bow light on or anything like that, navigation lights, things that are even legal. They feel like that's gonna, scare off fish or something. I'm not sure.
Well, I haven't noticed it scaring off any fish. And with these extendable poles, the bugs are not attracted to the light. They're attracted to heat. These things have put out a very low amount of heat, and you're extending them up above you. Now, mayflies are attracted to everything, but that's about the only type bug that really give us any trouble. We extend these things up. I think it's 9 feet from the bottom, and they're sitting above you and crisscrossed and shining off the back of your boat. And we have very little bit of bug trouble. And with the bugs that you do are above you, they're not on you because the light sets so high. And I'm considering, instead of the 9 foot poles, of putting 14s on it, because we do run a lot of times at night we'll put our enclosure up, tops and sides, to keep dew and stuff off of us. And you will get I'll tell you the truth, my fish finder, my hummingbird will attract more bugs inside the boat if it's on than our LED lights up on the poles.
Do you not dim your fish finder all the way down? I mean, I get out at night and
I do. I do now. I didn't used to. I used to leave it on. I couldn't understand why the freaking bug was getting in the boat, but it was the depth finder. Yeah.
uh, Jason asked, and this might have to do with, again, what type of light you're using, how hard is it on the batteries using the lights. I know that the LED one that I had, it really, I mean, being an LED light, it uses absolutely no battery. So
yeah, I can put these things up, and I've got an extra battery on those, and you can run it 2 nights in a row and hook it up to a charger. I use a 1 amp charger on this battery, and it'll shut off in just a matter of minutes. They just don't take anything.
yeah, I've thought about, when I had mine, I thought about just leaving it on in the garage and just not having a charger hooked up or anything, and seeing how long it would take. But I have a feeling that I could probably leave an LED light on a 12-volt battery for probably 2 days or more.
No, there's no doubt. Like I say, our tournaments, night tournaments, are usually 12 hours, and 2 nights in a row, and it doesn't even crack the seal on a battery. I mean, they just don't use anything at all.
Yeah. Chuck, you got anything to add about the lights or anything?
Yeah, I'm really into the blackout stuff, and I'll use a few uh, glow stick bracelets and stuff like that sometimes. But most of the time, I'll just wear my headlamp on red. I've got the one where you don't have to scroll through the lights to get to your red. It's actually got a separate button for the red because I don't like running my night vision or anything at all. And at nighttime when you're drift fishing, um, I mean, they hammer it so hard, you really don't have to watch your poles. I mean, you can hear it when they nail it. It echoes. You can feel the boat move. when they hit it, because they're chasing it down and they hit it so hard. So yeah, I just have my anchor light on, my front running light, and my headlamps, and a thermocell running in the front and one in the back, and I'm usually comfortable all night, and just have some spare batteries for your headlamp. I'm usually good to go.
Now, Chuck, you hit on something that really wasn't part of. I mean, I guess it could be tied in, but I don't know if Lyle will tell you, but I know Jason Malone in chat right now will tell you. Me and him have discussed it. You obviously know about it. Not everybody does, believe it or not, but Thermacell. Oh my God! If you don't have a Thermacell and you deal with bugs, hunting, fishing, whatever, you need to go buy a Thermacell. This ain't a gimmick. This is one of the things where I've been out in a tree stand in an October day. Went out one day, and I mean, a wall of mosquitoes just all over the place. I went out, bought a Thermacell. The very next day, I could physically see where the mosquitoes would stop coming. They were so thick, and that Thermacell was doing such a good job. I could actually see where they just pretty much would stop and turn around, or I mean, they just wouldn't go past that point. And I mean, that thing, I've got one in my boat. It absolutely is one of the things that you need to have in your boat.
We got two of them in the boat and two complete refill kits, and as soon as one of them gets half down, we replace it.
Yeah, another thing that's good, if you can, they've got fans that take the D batteries. I also have one that it what do they call it, a scintillate or whatever. It spins around. It's 12 volts, plugs in your accessory. It got 3 speeds, and keeping that fan blowing over the back of the boat, it really keeps the bugs down also. And that with the thermocells really help. Just keep your thermocells upwind. Uh, if they're downwind, they won't help at all. That's why I keep two in the boat. But a fan, a good 12-volt fan or a battery operated fan really helps also if they get really bad. And it's worth the little bit of extra room that it may take up in the boat. And especially as hot and humid as it gets out on the water, it really helps you stay comfortable also.
I'm not sure how Leanne is, Chuck, but if the mosquitoes are out at night and we got that thermocell on, Cindy will fight you for it.
Oh yeah, she sits on it.
Yeah,
She
yeah. You ain't taking it away from her. You just got to fend them off yourself.
she puts one on each side, and I just got to try to stay close to her.
Heck yeah.
Okay, yeah. The going on about I guess fishing at night and having the light on and for me honestly, I know that Lyle, you build rods, you have the Black Horse custom rods. What have you actually experimented at all, or have you had any thoughts about any experimentation on how to get lights to a tip of a pole, like say on a couple AAA batteries or even a watch battery of some sort, or anything at all like you've ever tried or thought about trying?
Yeah, the problem with that is you try not to add any extra weight to rods. Even though catfish rods, as a rule, are heavy to begin with, but you don't want to add any extra weight to them. And what we've done is experimented quite extensively, actually, with fluorescent thread, glow in the dark thread. We paint some. We put some additive in this for reflective purposes. We've done a lot of things, and it depends on who's got them and what they want. What you do, the glow in the dark thread seems to work fairly well. It's a real pain to do, so I've kind of got away from that. We have some reflective white paint that I put on, and then I wrap white thread over top of it. You have to watch doing that because you change the action of the tip of the rod if you put too much stuff on them. But I've had people ask for the lights, but by the time you get everything done and add the batteries to them, you're adding several ounces of weight to them. And I just try to stay away from that because, like I say, the rods are heavy enough to start with, but the reflective end of it is where we're going to focus on from this point on.
Hmm. Okay. Yeah, I mean, I've thought about a bunch of different things. I thought about trying, some type of really thin flat wire or something, running it down the blank and having just the tiniest little LED that would. Um, I even thought about, have how the a bow's a bow and arrow's sight system works, where they got basically a fiber optic
Right.
cable and the light sort of runs through it. I've even thought about something like that, and
The problem with that is you're getting into the expense to where people don't want to pay the extra to have it. By the time you buy that, because to get any kind of deal on it, you got to buy them by the thousands, and a lot of people don't want to spend that kind of money. What it'd take to do that, and it is a lot of extra work, and we try to hold the price down as much as we can on these things.
Workman Workman said leave that hat on. You about blinded him.
Yeah, yeah.
But okay, so
Surely wasn't talking to me.
I think he was.
Yeah, I bet he was too. But you can't expect much more than that out of a Cubs fan.
All right, and so going on a little bit more about the feeding patterns and things, Paul Ragsdale asked us the day versus night fishing. Do you notice a difference on, or do you do anything on fishing structure? Do you target it only more at day or at night, or do you always target structure?
Well, I always target structure, and I'm sure that most people do. It's a different type of structure at night if you're fishing for flatheads versus blues or channel cats, because blues and channel cats, like I say, they'll feed 24 hours a day, and them guys will use different structure than what a flathead will, I believe. Now, I know there's people that catch flatheads drifting, or they say they do. I never have, and I've had guys say that they have caught one or two, uh, but it doesn't happen a lot. It just doesn't. And from in our area, from the time the water temperature reaches 55 degrees until it gets colder than that in the fall, drifting is a major way we fish. So um, you're drifting a lot of the time, but at night we do drift at night. But I prefer anchor fishing simply because of the safety factor. Now, if you're in an area, say you're below the Alton Dam or the Clarksville Dam or something like that, where you have all the dam lights plus the lights on the boat, it's not nearly as bad because it's lit up. But you get away from them, and on a cloudy night, it's pitch dark, and you can get yourself in trouble pretty quick if you're not used to the area.
Oh, we lost Chuck, so I'm trying to get Chuck back on here.
Okay. But daytime fishing is something that we do a lot of because we do so many tournaments. But in the daytime, we look for current breaks and seams and bends in the river and stuff like that. Where at night, a lot of times we're looking at sunken trees or rock piles or humps and different things that we're looking at during the daytime. A lot of times, too, something I look for is two different types of water where they meet, one muddy and one stained, or one stained and one fairly clear. I do a lot of that kind of stuff throughout the daytime, where at night you wouldn't be able to see it or tell unless you'd been there in the daytime to notice it. But that's what free fishing's for, so you can find those places and be able to do that. Uh, as important as a lot of that stuff is, that you've got to rely back on getting the right bait for how you're fishing also.
Yeah. The I myself, I don't always target structure necessarily at nighttime. For some reason, I feel like, I mean, if there is structure there, good, but there's times where just a big flat, I mean, all it is a big flat, and um, you know, I don't know if it's that they start cruising, and especially like for flatheads and stuff, you'll want to get right up next to the bank. And there's not necessarily structure there. It's almost you know I know bluegill and whatnot are going to be traveling around, but they might be sitting on structure or they might not. But there's quite a bit of times where I've kind of thought there wasn't any structure, but more was targeting fish that were just sort of scavenging the bank line. They weren't necessarily sitting on structure or anything. They were more scavenging, looking for food. And I don't mind almost all the time if I'm near a bank, I'm going to have bait up near it, right up on the bank, and there might not be any sort of structure. If I've gone through there, it could just be a flat. Um,
Well, a lot of times what I've noticed on those flats and stuff, if you catch a time when the wind is blowing into that flat, it'll blow all that stuff up there, them shad and things chase. And if the bait's there, the fish are going to come to it. That's just, that's kind of the way that works. And if you can catch a time when you got a breeze blowing that plankton and stuff up on a flat, and you know, if them shad go up in there, the channel cat's going to be there, the blue's going to be there, the flathead's sure going to be there. So if you can find a flat with anywhere from 1 or 2, 3 foot of water to 15 or 20 foot for a long stretch, that's a definite spot you want to be on drifting, day or night.
Here, I'm gonna give Chuck this link like I did for you. Hopefully that'll get him in here. I don't know if it will or not, but and let me get back to the page here. Oh, wrong one. I'm gonna scroll up here a little bit since I was trying to get him in here. None. Okay, no other questions there.
If you guys are out pre-fishing for a tournament, or pre-fishing, we talk about pre-fishing for tournaments all the time, but pre-fishing doesn't just apply to tournaments. If you've got a trip with a buddy coming up, most pre-fishing is done without getting a line wet, and you can go out and spend your day looking around, marking fish or finding structure and places you want to fish, and then when you guys decide to make your trip, you already know where you're going. I know. Can't think of his name right now. Troy Hansen is really up to speed on these new programs they got for the phones and different things, and he does a lot of his pre-fishing on phone or online, where he has a good idea of where he's going to fish before he ever gets to an area. And this has become a great asset to not only tournament guys but to the everyday fishermen, because it saves them how much time they got to spend going around looking around for stuff. They can head right to the spot they think they want to fish and go right to it and check it out. And if the fish are not there or they don't like it, they can go on to the next place.
Yeah. And that you're talking like when he's pre-fishing online, is that like Google Earth and?
No, the Navionics and several of the companies now have apps where you can get the programs right on your phone, and it's just like the program that you have on your depth finder. It'll show you the same everything.
Like HD maps and stuff for the lakes and rivers and.
Yes. And I know Navionics has got it. I've looked at theirs, but I'm thinking he was talking about Lake Master. I'm not sure that's right, and it's a little late in the game for me to try to get a hold of it and find out. But I do believe that there are several of those deals like that has those, and the Navionics one is pretty good, but the one he was talking about, he just raved about it. He sits around and does a lot of pre-fishing, and Troy lives up the central part of Iowa, and he fishes Missouri, Illinois, Iowa, and up in Wisconsin in the spring. And when he gets to where he's going, he's got a list of places he's going to check first off. And if he don't find what he wants, then he'll go out and look around. But that's a great deal for not only tournament fishermen, but for a lot of the guys that just go out for fun fishing too.
Yeah. For now, is there any sort of different types of baits that you would use differently on night versus a day?
Well, if I was fishing for blues, I'd still be using skipjack, herring, moon eye, shad, live if I had it, and possibly live bluegill. Where in daytime I'm going to be using mostly cut bait, and it'd be skipjack or shad or moon eye, chunked up or sided or something like that. But they'll all eat live bait. They're all used to eating live bait, so why wouldn't it be just as good to have a live bluegill floating down the river or anchor fishing? That's one of the great things that I feel like people miss is not using live bait, because all they hear is cut skipjack or cut shad or something like that. But them guys are used to feeding on live bait. If you have live bait and can keep it live, which usually is the issue, to me that's one of the greatest things. And people forget about live creek chubs and suckers. If you go and fishing, you might as well take everything you can possibly get your hands on. Just because they're not biting on shad today, don't mean they won't be tomorrow. Or our creek chubs. And Rusty Stamper saved us one time in a tournament years ago on Truman. We was fishing on the Osage River, and we was 4 or 5 hours into this tournament, and we hadn't got but one fish in the boat. And he said, "I've got a secret bait if you know a place we can get some channel cats." And he opened up one of them little sandwich coolers, and he had a bunch of creek chubs that he caught the day before and been on ice. And we put our limit of fish in the boat and ended up second place in that tournament because of that. So don't ever limit yourself to, if you can get it, have it available and ready to use.
Yeah, one of the things that I probably said it before, but from the first few years of tournament fishing, the biggest thing that I learned right off the bat was a variety of bait and fresh bait.
That's right.
Those were the two biggest things. Because I think the first year, I brought frozen skipjack, frozen shad. It was not easy for me to go out and have, a ton of fresh bait. I couldn't throw a cast net very well. I didn't have the time, to get out there, catch it beforehand. I just pretty much showed up. I had bait. It just wasn't what everybody else had, and it really, I think it really impacted where I placed in a lot of the tournaments. And that's with keeping a blog or keeping a log of what you're doing when you're out fishing and things, especially when you're trying to get better and you're trying to improve how you're doing in tournaments and things like that. Lyle, I'm sure, doesn't claim to be the best fisherman in the world. I don't claim to be the best fisherman in the world. All we're doing is, learning as we go, and that's one great way to do it, is keeping the log. Having a blog that you're on. If anybody ever goes to mine, the Fud Goes Catfishing, it almost reads like a diary, and that's kind of the way that I've set it up, is for me to go back and look at it and see what kind of lessons I learned from each one, and I try to have a lesson that I feel like I learn from every tournament. And like I said, that having fresh bait, having a variety of bait, that's definitely, one of those things that you learn after a while. Creek chubs, like you were talking about, bluegill. There's people that don't know that blues will eat live bluegill. They just think that, a blue's going to eat cut bait and it's going to eat skipjack.
And they do, but that's a piece of cut bait is not a natural thing floating down the river for them to eat. They're used to seeing whole, or whether it's dead or alive, they're used to seeing it whole. They're not used to seeing cut. The only time they see cut bait's when it's on a hook.
Yeah. I'm sure. Well, I'm sure there's instances, maybe running behind a barge, getting chopped up by props, and But yeah, for the most part, it's whole bait. And I said diary, diary, not diarrhea, diary.
And a lot of people don't realize that regular cut bluegill is a great bait. It's not quite as oily uh, as some of the other baits, but my son's biggest fish was cut off of a bluegill head on Truman, Osage Arm years ago. He caught a really, really nice blue down there on a bluegill head, and the reason we was using it is because we had the bluegill in the boat for flathead fishing, and he had caught a really nice blue before that, and we throwed it in the live well with the live shad that we had, and the damn thing ate up all the shad, and we had to go catch some more. But in the meantime, we was cutting up bluegill and using them, and they work great as gut bait, especially for channel cat early in the spring.
Well, we got Chuck back, but I believe we got him on his phone.
All righty.
Is that what we got, Chuck?
Yeah.
Yeah, not really. Cutting in and out there. There's a difference. Huh. Okay. Yeah, so another thing that I think about when I'm fishing day versus night is water temperature. And I kind of think that, I don't know if this is just my common sense thinking or I've actually picked this up somewhere, but we talk about how the depths of water, as you go down in water, especially in the summertime, the depth of the water gets cooler and the fish are going to be down in the cooler water. Well, when that sun drops, that shallow water actually cools off pretty quick, and
Yes.
that's when they're going to come up into that shallow water and feed out of that deeper water because it's not as hot anymore. And and then you reverse that. If it's cold, they might be down in the deeper water because it's warmer down there.
Right, exactly right. And those are all things that people take for granted. When they're out fishing, why are they up there in them shallows at night? The wind's blowing the other way. There shouldn't be any bait fish up there. Well, there's some bait fish in there. There's going to be something that they can eat in them shallows, and they're coming up in there because a lot of times because the water temperature has changed and it's not so hot up there. And if it's not so hot, the bluegill and not necessarily shad, but other bait fish will be in there for them to get a hold of, bullheads or whatever. Which bullheads themselves, I've never caught anything off of them but flatheads, but they are great flathead bait.
Yeah, so I would definitely, if you're on the bank somewhere, you don't have access to a ton of water, and you're in a 90-degree day or whatever, and that all you have out in front of you in a certain area is 5 foot or less of water, I would probably pick a spot where you might have 20 foot of water. I wouldn't be throwing a bunch of baits out in 5 foot of water on a big flat on a really hot day. I would go and try to find where a deeper hole might be or deeper water to try to get into some of the fish that are holding in that deeper water and being a little cooler.
If you're marking fish next to that flat, most of the time you should either be marking them on the break where it gets deep right at the bottom, or just off from that, and that's where I'd be concentrating if it was me.
Yeah. Okay.
What about your giveaway? You going to talk about that tonight, Chris?
Oh, yes, I will. I've got lots of things to talk about tonight. But Whiskerware Apparel for, the month of August? Yeah, for the month of August. Every episode of Catfish Weekly, we will be giving away I believe it's a long or short sleeve t-shirt from Whiskerware Apparel, a koozie, a can koozie, and a vinyl decal to one person who does what they need to do to be entered into the contest. Now, for the contest, what you need to do I will upload a file for you to download and print. This will be it. You will take a picture of yourself like that.
Don't get Workman doing that.
take yourself a picture of that. If you don't have a printer, okay, pull the picture up on your screen and take a picture with your face next to the screen. You don't got to print it out. See, I'm thinking. So you don't even have to have a printer. But anyway, you do that, post that picture up, put it on our Facebook page, either our group or our page. We'll see it. We'll add your name in. You only got to enter once. You don't have to enter every week unless if you win, there's only going to be one winner. If you win once, you're not going to be able to win again later on through the month. So we want to have 4 different winners. But yeah, just definitely print it out or take a picture of it with your face next to the screen or whatever. Put it on the Facebook page for Catfish Weekly. We'll get you entered in, which also leads me into one of the other features that we have, and we're just starting out on. It's in our forums, our brand new forums that we just set up. There's a new post that I posted today. Basically, it's the forum Superfan VIP package. It's $10. The $10 is basically just helping us pay fees for different things that we have going on for Catfish Weekly. A lot of this stuff costs money that we're doing, so this just helps us out. But what you're going to get with that, what's that? Or did I get her? I think I got myself coming through your speaker there or something. But anyway,
anything.
The package, the VIP fan, the Super Fan VIP package for $10. It's going to give you a bonus entry into every contest for a year for Catfish Weekly. So every contest that we have that you enter by following the rules, then you're going to get a bonus entry. You're going to get an extra entry, so increasing your chances of winning. And I know that we have some very, very good prizes to come for the following year. I mean, we might be talking like Black Horse rods or reels, and I mean, we might be talking some good stuff. So $10 is definitely worth it. You're going to get also a special forum user group or rank, as you would call it, and it's going to show that you're a super fan VIP or whatever on the forum. Probably going to give you, if we ever do add advertisements onto the forums, it will probably exclude any of the super fan members, so you won't see ads on the forums. Might give you some other upgrades to your account, like more hosting room for pictures, things like that. Definitely, as things come along, as we sort of make the forums nicer, and I see things that are there for the super fans to be able to have, then I'll probably add them for them. So please go to the forums, check it out, follow the instructions. We'll get you set up as a super fan as soon as possible. I think that's all for the. Also for the Catfish Weekly, we have recently partnered with Catfish Magazine. There's going to be a new magazine coming out very soon, within the next few days, I believe, maybe a week. But I believe in that magazine, you're going to see Catfish Weekly have an article. Going to be a good size article talking about Catfish Weekly. Also going to mention the giveaway for this next month with Whiskerware Apparel. And we do want to thank Rob. Rob is definitely stepping up for us, doing 4 giveaways in the month, giving away a lot of shirts. He's already done another giveaway. He'll probably do more, so he's really coming through for us on giving stuff away for Catfish Weekly, and we appreciate it, Rob.
Well, Chris, one thing that we need to talk about here, we've had a lot of shirts and stuff made over the years, and I've had some good ones. I got a guy here locally that makes stuff for me, and he does a really good job. But I've got some of Rob's stuff that he has sent me. Of course, he's one of my sponsors, and he was sponsoring our tournaments before. but the quality of material that he uses is the best out there. He does a really nice job. He's behind catfishing. He's behind catfish conservation. Him and his company stand for everything good in catfishing, and we need to support him like he's supporting us. So if you guys are looking for some shirts or something, contact Whiskerware Apparel. Tell him we sent you from Catfish Weekly. That way he knows where you're hearing about us, and help all of us help each other.
Yeah, as you guys can see, I'm wearing a shirt right now. It's not a real thin, bad quality shirt. It's a premium quality shirt. It's comfortable. I like wearing it.
They're very, and the sweatshirts are amazing. The sweatshirts are very warm. They're just, it's a quality product. Any way you cut it, from a super guy that does everything for catfishing that you would hope a sponsor would do, and I just can't thank him enough for everything he's done for all of us. So you guys take care of Rob, and he'll take care of us.
Yep. And going on, like I was just talking about with Catfish Magazine, you guys may or may not have seen the top right advertising spot where it says "Too late, this spot is taken." That's going to be Catfish Magazine. Like I said, we partnered with them. You're going to see advertisements for Catfish Weekly and all the future episodes of the Catfish Magazine. The Catfish Magazine is a digital magazine. It's not going to be on the shelves anywhere. All you got to do is go to the URL, which I'll put the URL in with this episode on Catfish Weekly tonight as well. But go to that URL, put your email in, subscribe to the list, and you'll get all the Catfish magazines sent right to your email box, and you can watch them, read them on your computer and check it out. There's going to be I know he's talked to me for quite a while the other night, and he was telling me about how much he's put into this next issue of the Catfish magazine, and he sent me a preview of it, and I can tell you guys it looks really good. He's definitely putting a lot of work and energy into that magazine, so we want to support him as well. Get the readers up on that. Show everybody that catfishing really is evolving, and we're here for it. And Jason tells me he's glad I am wearing a shirt. I'm glad I'm wearing a shirt too. But also, while Jason is here too, I want to give him a shout out. Within probably 5 minutes of me putting that post up, he became the first superfan VIP for the forum. So thank you very much, Jason. We appreciate it very much. Podcasts, Catfish Weekly. There's been people that have asked me. They've talked to Lyle. They've talked to Paul. There's been a bit of interest in the podcast version of the show, basically an audio only because they can't watch it, while they're at work. I don't believe there's a way for me to do it live, but I will be able to definitely get each of the episodes made into a podcast, so that way, if you're at work or wherever where you want to listen to the podcast, you can do that. So I will definitely get that started here in the near future, very near future. So look for that. Do we want to go back to the night versus day fishing at all? We got Chuck back.
Is he back?
Yep.
Well, if he's back, he's probably got something to add to all that.
Can you hear us, Chuck?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yep, we can hear you. Oh, we covered we covered a lot.
Well, I prefer night fishing during the summer over day fishing anytime. I'm really into a lot of disciplines. I sink in the boat. Most of the time, especially if I'm trophy flathead fishing, I'll go ahead and pack everything up and I'll move to another spot. That's how superstitious I am about noise. So, daytime, I'm a big time winter fisher. There's no way you can hang fishing at nighttime during the winter time. I've been out to, as late as 8 or 9 o'clock, and just the boat ride back to the ramp is just unbearable. So, during the wintertime, during the day, during the summer, I like nights, or anytime I can fish, but I prefer nights. Daytime's just been too unbearable here in June, July, and August.
Now hold it. Just a minute. When you're talking about it being unbearable at night in Alabama, what are you talking about? 50 degrees, 40 degrees?
No, daytime being unbearable. Really, nighttime has been, yeah, nighttime, been, 70 in the 70s a lot of nights. And yes, it was 80 last night, and we had a front coming through. So,
Now, I meant in the wintertime when you was talking about being so cold. If for you, 30 or 40 degrees is cold.
well, no, it got pretty cold this past year. We was,
Way down to 25?
it went down to 13 a few times.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah.
I
Yeah,
know.
but
I feel so bad for you.
Yeah.
it's terrible. I mean, I don't live here for the, for the cold weather. I think I'm going to need to move further south or something.
I know Chris Cordy and I a few years ago, he called me up and he was wanting to go fishing, and we went below the Clarksville Dam. We put in there at the boat club, and we went up by the dam, and we sat there for 3 or 4 hours, and it was 23 degrees, and the whole time we was there, we was fending off ice chunks coming through the dam at us. So that was the middle of the day, 23 degrees. So, yeah. I can only imagine how tough it is down there in the mid part of winter when it's 45.
Oh, yeah, it's terrible. Oh, if it's 45 degrees, it's time to call in sick. I mean, that's
right.
I can go out in shorts and a short sleeve shirt down to about 60 degrees. Just so you know.
Oh man. 50s and 60s perfect for me.
Yeah, around in the 60s, I'm fine. Yeah, but another good thing about nighttime, around an hour before dark up to about 2 hours after, that's usually my favorite time to put the big baits out. As for trophy fish, most of my biggest fish have been caught around that time. Even if I don't have but a few hours to fish, I'll come home from work and I'll go out from 7 till 9:30, and just come right back in, because it's such a great feeding time. I guess they're en routes to their feeding holes or where they go at night. It just seems like a lot of them run the channel edge, get where they're going, and it's just a really good time that time of day. You can go out, catch a handful of fish and get back to the house within just a few hours.
Chuck, will you fish when you're fishing nighttime versus daytime? Will you fish more shallow in night, or will you fish just a certain depth of water where you're marking fish, or what will you do as far as how deep you're fishing day versus night?
Well, drift fishing, I do like I always do. I do like a zigzag pattern. I crank my reels up and down. I'll leave some. I stagger my depths anyway, but most of the time, I fish about the same depths. It just, at the bottom of the channel edges. It just depends on how deep it in the channel edge at the time. Sometimes I'll be on channel edges that's only 20, 25 foot. Sometimes I'm on some that's 45 to 55 foot, but I'm always fishing, the bottom third of that channel edge. Most of the time I do a zigzag pattern, so I have a larger scent trail in the current, because with your rods out the side of the boat and some out the back, you're pretty much covering 25 foot of the current. But if you do a slight zigzag and cover another 2/3 of that, you can get 75 foot of that current with a scent trail down it. Most of the time, if I start getting bites, when I when I zigzag on in, get up on the channel edges around 20 foot. I always keep my channel edge side rods up. You know, if I'm fishing 45 foot of water on the deep channel edge, I'll keep my channel edge side rods up to about 25 foot. And that way, when I get, you know, real close to the channel edge, I'm not hanging up, and I can zigzag pretty good that way.
Chuck Jason
Uh,
Huggins in the chat has asked you if do you fish more lakes or rivers?
but most of the places around here, the rivers are still controlled by the power companies. Um, Almost every lake around here, the upper half is river, and usually the lower halves are, you know, opens up to the larger bodies of water, which are lakes. Even though you're fishing in the river portion, if they shut the water off, you know, you still don't have current. So it's more or less it just changes from a river type current to a lake type current just from the current shutting off. So you still have to, you know, adapt. You try to go by their schedule. You know, they put a schedule out of when they're supposed to be generating power and when they're not. Um, so you can pretty much plan your fishing around that. Sometimes they, you know, go off that schedule, but um, you know, most of the time if they're not running any current, I might as well just, you know, go out here and, you know, put my anchor lock on and just, you know, change it, you know, go to a few different spots and just drift around. They usually just stop biting, period, when they shut the water off around here anyway.
Ron Streeter's asking us, do we fish with multi-hook rigs while drifting or a single hook rig? You can go ahead and
Well,
start, Chuck, or Lyle, it don't matter.
I use multi-hook rigs on my dead sticks out the side, but my bumping rods I don't. I use a single set hooks deal on those. Usually Carolina rigs with a bank sinker of some sort ahead of the swivel. But a lot of times on my dead sticks that go out the sides, and they'll be either 8s or 10-foot rods. I prefer the 10s. Uh, I take them babies and do a double hook, either a loop or a loop, two loop rigs done tied onto them, or I'll snell two hooks on one or the other and use them to see what they're wanting, because you can go up foot and a half or 2 foot, and them dead sticks are pretty much going to be straight down, so you're covering two depths in the water column, and I like that really well for drifting.
So it's not necessarily you're using it as a trailer hook and hooking to one big bait. You're using two different baits and fishing two different water columns.
That
And
is
keep,
two depths. Yes, that is
yeah.
correct. On a 10-foot rod, you know you can lift that up when you got a fish on a 10-foot rod. You can get up pretty high, so it's not uncommon for me to have 2.5, 3 foot separation between the two hooks and have one really low just above your sinker, which should be right directly on the bottom, and the other one be up 2.5, 3 foot, because on 10-foot rods you got all that lift, so it's easy enough to cover two different depths.
Chuck?
Well, it depends on what kind of structure I'm fishing and how much money I want to lose when I get hung up. Um, you know, a lot of times, you know, going from river to river, there's going to be a tree or a stump that wasn't there last time you drifted through. So, you know, not having Humminbird 360 and not know what's coming at you, because I always drift with 6 rod anyway. So, you know, if you're moving at you know, 0.08 mile an hour or a half mile an hour, a lot of times if one rod starts going down and you run into a pretty good tree or something, it's over. All your rods are hung up at the same time. So, um, you know, if I'm in a new spot and I know it's not going to be open water and a lot of structure, I just fish one hook rigs, and unless they're short biting and being real finicky, I'll use a double hook snell rig with one bait, but I haven't been using tiered baits here lately.
Yeah, I myself, I've only used a single hook rig. I mean, I've not. I mean, I know my partner for the ICA uses a lot of double and triple hook rigs. Some of them he has set up where it's a stinger hook, and he's got one bigger piece of bait on the top one, and then he'll throw something. He'll have say an 8/0 hook on the top part of the fish and a smaller 6/0 hook on the back end of the fish, and then he'll have a leader line going down to a separate, a whole nother hook, and he might have three hooks on a line, and he uses that for drifting, for anchor fishing. He uses his rigs in a lot of different ways. So, but how long of a leader? Myself, I do about 2 foot leaders. On just how long? Most of my rig is about a 2 foot leader.
For me, it depends on what water I'm fishing. Uh, a lot of times, they call it drifting, but when you're in a lake, you're basically pulling your stuff along. So that's not really drift fishing as we know it on the river. But um, I do in that situation will be my longest one. That way, it's in a float to set it up off of there, and it'll sit there and move around behind there. And usually, I'm using 3 or 4 foot leaders. Uh, on my dead sticks and stuff, most of the time I don't. I just tie a leader on and put the sinker right on the bottom if I'm using dead stick. And the if it touches the bottom, then I reel it up a little bit, and the hooks are snelled on above that, and anywhere from 6 inches to a couple of foot. The as far as a bouncing rod or one being out behind the boat, anywhere from 1.5 foot to 2.5 foot is on leaders on those.
I usually use 2 foot leaders most of the time when I'm doing controlled drift. Um, but a lot of times if I'm flathead fishing and I'm anchored down, uh, I'll use just about a 12-inch leader and a no roll. And no telling how far your line's going to be away from your no roll when that big live bait gets out there running around. So yeah, I know you've seen on TV where a lot of guys will just not use a leader and let that no roll be right down on the hook. And when that live bait gets out there on the water, he's sometimes 3 or 4 foot away from it. I just try to get enough leader on there that if I get a good flathead and he gets up against some good structure, he's not going to break me off. But I don't like to give him too much to where he can find a big live brim or a big live bullhead. He'll find him a good hole and try to get down in it or get up under a log and hang you up every time. So I try not to give him too much of a leader either. So probably 3 foot on max on my if I'm anchoring down.
Now, before we go on here, I've got a few people that I want to give a shout out to and thank them for posting on the Facebook page, posting the pictures they've been posting. The first angler spotlight that I got is Austin Tibbetts. I wanted to tell you there's some great fish that you're posting on there. Great handling of the fish. I've seen a lot of the way you're holding them. You're supporting their belly. You're holding them correctly. Really doing a good job on your fish management, keeping the fish healthy, taking care of them while you have them on the boat, getting a picture and getting them back in the water. Good release pictures. So thank you, Austin, for posting on Catfish Weekly site. We like looking at your pictures. Keep posting them for everybody to look at. Ronnie Renner, lots of great pictures of channel cats and blue cats. So thank you also for posting on there. Keep posting them. Curtis and Shelia Bowie, nice fish, bud. Keep sharing with us. Jason Charlton, nice flatty, but next time, support his belly. Don't hold him up by the jaw. But share the pics, keep it going. And pretty much for the next, all the episodes, I want to try to get a spotlight or a shout out to some of the people that have posted on our Facebook page. We're getting a lot of good pictures in there. We really do appreciate the pictures on there. People enjoy looking at stuff like that. So, you got a picture, go over to Catfish Weekly, throw it up there, and be proud of it. It doesn't have to be a huge fish. It doesn't. There's lots of people that just enjoy looking at the fish. So go ahead and put them up there and let everybody see them. Be proud of it.
Yeah, the forum now, Chris did a really good job at it, and he's got a place on there where you can put a fishing report and go in there and post pictures also. And you can also get on there and give us some tips and pointers that you would like to see with the show, some special guests, some topics that you would like us to cover. It's all on there, and we just want to hear y'all's input. So sign up on the forum and pick you a good screen name out and start participating with us.
Yeah, the forum's brand new. Like I said, we just got it last week, and there's lots of good things to post on the forum and have a good community there. So definitely utilize it. Go over there and say hello. Get it going. Um, Also, if you guys remember, about a month or so ago, we talked about Jason Malone's daughter Brooke, um, how she had some problems, went to the hospital, was a really scary situation. I got an update for everybody. Um, just a few days ago, she has started physical therapy. She just got out of the hospital. She's on her road to recovery. So everybody still continue the prayers for a fast recovery. Um, Definitely glad to hear that she's doing well and on that road, on a good road right now. So,
Absolutely. That's great.
Jason, we're all here for you. Tell Brooke we're here for her, and everybody else, keep the good thoughts going to her. But well, other things that were going on recently. I don't know about you guys, but I fished a tournament this last Saturday night, and I fished it in probably the worst storm that I think I've ever been in my boat. And you want to talk about scary. Now, there was 14 boats. This was Extreme Catfishing tournament in Madison, Indiana. 14 other crazy people like myself decided to show up, knowing that there was going to be a tremendous storm coming. and and I'm telling you guys right now, I don't know. I'm not saying it was smart, but man, it was definitely a show. I mean, it was a light show out there. There was lightning hitting all over the place, and wind picked up. But I went out. I actually did not have a fish finder for this tournament. I went out with no fish finder. Um, for the stretch of water, I was, really would have helped, to have a fish finder. And believe it or not, out of the 14 boats, and this is, I guess, another statement for, I guess you could say, how bad the Ohio River really is hurting. I had one fish that was 17.9 pounds and got third place. And the blues were not on spawn; they were post spawn. This was definitely just a. I mean, there might have been a few guys that would have had me beat, but they either lost a fish because of live well technical difficulties, or they just didn't think they were going to have what they needed. But for the most part, it jumped from second place at 52 pounds of fish to my third place at 17.9, and there was a lot of people in that 15 to 17 pound range. So that's just a statement for the Ohio River. I mean, with the things going on there, we talk about it a lot. It really is hurting. It really is hurting bad. And I mean, we did the weigh in there. There was a lot of locals. The locals came up and talked to us. They pretty much all saying the same thing that we hear from all the people who catfish, that it's just really went downhill, and it's went downhill in the past 4 years really rapidly. Not a problem, Jason. Not a problem at all. He just thanked us for what we're saying and everything. So, like I said, it's not a problem at all. Um, Also, earlier I was talking about the Superfan VIP thing. Right now, it's only set up to be paid through PayPal. If you don't have PayPal and you don't want to sign up for PayPal, just send me an email at that same email address. If you want to send a money order, or if you want to send cash or whatever, um, we'll take whatever you can get. If you see me at a tournament, or you see Lyle at a tournament, or Chuck at a tournament, and you want to get it, you want to get in on it, you can give them $10 cash. They'll make sure we get it and put it to use. So just go up to them, let them know what you're giving them $10 for. They're going to think that they won a bet. They didn't know what bet they won, but they won it. So that's some other different things that we'll do for the Superfan VIP thing. Congratulations to um, first and second place in that tournament for Madison and Extreme Catfishing. You guys fished in some tough conditions and got some big fish. So I'm sure you probably see some pictures over on Catfishing's Winter Circle on that Facebook page here shortly. So.
Yeah, I've got something that I'd like to bring up while we have just a minute. I think about everybody knows that we're all planning on being at the Monstersville, Ohio tournament. I mean, we've talked about that quite a bit in the last few months. And in case anybody doesn't know it, we're going to try to do a live show 3 nights in a row down there. I think I've got everything put together where we can do that. Aaron is behind us on this, and we're going to be having guest people up there every night for a few minutes, as many as we possibly can. And I've talked to Aaron about being there, and Janet and Bink and Doc and Jason Mathena. Anybody that you guys can think of. I've talked to the Massengill brothers and Jeff Dodd about being on there at the same time, if you can imagine that. We're planning on having it on a stage, so this is going to be something that'll be quite a deal for us to pull off. But anybody that can come up with some people that they'd like to see on the show, send us a message on Facebook or post it on the forum, on the new forum. That'd be great. And let us know, because it's going to be hard to get everybody in there, but there's going to be so many characters down there that we want to try to get as many of them as we can to make it as good as we can. And I don't. The shows may be an hour apiece. They may be 2 hours apiece. It's hard to tell. But when you start getting guys like Jason Mathena and Vicky, his mother, and Jeff and Dodd and the Massengill boys, I mean, that in itself will be a complete show, just them guys. So this ought to be a really good deal. If we can make this work the way it should work, it ought to be a great time, and the people that don't get to go down there and fish that tournament can still be a part of it.
Yep, should be a very good show. Should be a very good time down there. Should be some characters, like you said. So if you guys do have anything at all that you want, if there's a certain person you definitely want to hear us get, let us know. We'll try to get them. And if there's something specific you want to ask that person, let us know. We'll try to ask that question.
You betcha.
But we'll go ahead and do our closing statements. We're running about a little over an hour right now. So Chuck, go ahead and do your closing statements you got.
Yeah, I just want to remind everybody we got a Alabama Catfish Trail tournament on Wheeler Lake. We're going to be launching out of Ingalls Harbor September 6th. It's going to be from 7 to 4. That's about the time of the year that the big ones really start nailing it. So come on out and let's catch some fish and have a good time.
All right, Lyle?
Just want to remind everybody about our makeup date for the Keokuk tournament. that was supposed to be held July 12th was canceled on account of the flood. Will be August 16th in Keokuk, Iowa. This is an added money tournament, so all of you guys that have already paid entries, thank you. We'll see you there, and anybody that hasn't and wants an early takeoff number needs to get their money in because we'll be shutting that down a week before the tournament, and then you'll have to pay us either a day or two before the tournament when we're up there setting up, or day of the tournament. I think we have $2,000 added for this tournament, which is a pretty good payout. There was 45 or 47 teams there last year, so it ought to be a great tournament. The fish, I've seen some pictures of the fish that these guys was catching over the weekend up there. You know, 30s, 40s, 50s. They're just knocking them out one right after the other. So this ought to be a really good tournament. The other tournament that we have coming up is September 20th, Quincy, Illinois, Southside Boat Club. This is one of our stays we go to every year. It's a great turnout. If you want to eat there, they got great food. It's just an outstanding group of people in Quincy. We just usually can't wait to get there, and you take off from the Southside Boat Ramp. As far as you want to pedal your boat, that's as far as you can go. As all our tournaments, a $100 entry fee. So 7 to 3, come see us if you get a chance. That's all I got for now.
All right. We still have advertising on the site. As you can see now, I changed the images for it. Let you know exactly what you're going to get. $50 is 6 months on the site in that block there. $30 for 3 months. Just send me an email. Let me know that you want one of those. We can get you set up. Basically, want to tell everybody thanks for watching the show. We're really enjoying doing it. We're really trying to make it a good show for everybody, and we're really proud to have some of the people that we have sponsoring us, like Rob and Catfish Magazine, and Lyle with Black Horse Custom Rods, and Heath with Indiana Hunter. Thank you guys for supporting us. Thank you to all the people that are watching the show. You know, even though each of us individually have our own sponsors, you know, the show itself isn't sponsored and ran by any certain company or product or anything like that. We're just trying to put on a good show for everybody and get good information out to you and enjoy the sport of catfishing. So basically, thank you very much to everybody. ICA has a tournament on August the 9th. It's the night tournament, 7:30 p.m. to 7:30 a.m., Saturday to Sunday. That's going to be at Hardy Lake. You can find more information. It's going to be a points tournament, so you do need a membership, $25. You can sign up for a membership at the tournament, but you can get more information on that tournament at indianacatfish.com. I believe that's all we have, so I want to thank everybody, and as I always tell you, make sure you stay out of my spot.